It's a lovely good morning to everyone tuned in to Camnet TV. Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Off the Pitch, and I'm your host for today, Augustine Mwanza, aka Rio Flowers. With me in the studios is Mr. Sikombe. It's a coincidence that Ghana is winning and Mr. Sikombe is back in the studio.
It's a wonderful Saturday morning, and I would like to thank everybody for tuning in and joining us for this wonderful program, Augustine. And it's always good to be back after a short break. We had other commitments that could not allow me to come, but by the grace of God, here we are this morning discussing nothing but the best that we do every weekend.
Exactly, and it's good to have the viewers back. I think we've missed a couple of shows, but thank God we're back in the studios and to talk nothing but sports.
Indeed, it is a beautiful Saturday, and I think first things first, let's look at the African teams that are plying their trade at the World Cup very, very briefly, because we have started the program a little bit late, and we will be probably summarizing everything and giving you nothing but the best of the information that we can. And we will definitely look at our Division 1 fixtures as well as the Zambian Super League games that will be taking place this weekend. First things first, Augustine. Very proud to be African, if you ask me. Cameroon did us pride by beating Brazilians, the Samba boys. Of course, they've bowed out of the tournament, but just that victory on its own gives me a little sense of pride.
I think if you look at the performance of Cameroon and the way they played in the group, they missed out because I think they messed it up in the first game against Switzerland, where they got beat by 1-0. That was probably the reason why they got eliminated. They had the second chance against Serbia, a game which had a lot of goals. It ended 3-3, and we eventually went and won against Brazil, the record World Cup winners. And if you look at the way Cameroon performed, I think you would see that now the gap is closing in terms of European and African football at large, because now we can go toe-to-toe with these big teams and give them a very, very good challenge. Vincent Aboubakar has been very, very good for Cameroon at this tournament.
Big celebration for him.
He's very, very brilliant. Yeah, the big man. I think I've been impressed with Maxime Choupo-Moting. He's been doing very well for Bayern Munich, and he replicated that at the World Cup. Probably Mbeumo, he didn't fit in very well for in Cameroon. It's his first time, because this is his first tournament with Cameroon, the Brentford man. But all in all, Cameroon with Rigobert Song at the helm, they are very, very close to qualification. It had to take Switzerland beating Serbia on the final day, but all in all, controversy, Onana being chased out of the camp. That's Africa for
the appointment of Rigobert Song a couple of weeks before the tournament I think it gave me a bit of a question marks here and there, and I was beginning to wonder what Samuel was trying to do. But eventually, the man has proven to be a force to reckon with by breaking that jinx, that record that Brazil has always held over African nations.
And that was very, very big. I think Cameroon will look back at this World Cup and realize that was a very, very big achievement. They didn't have a very, very poor tournament. They were very close to qualifying. If they could have gotten their cards right, especially in the two games against Switzerland and Serbia, those were the games that would have seen Cameroon qualify. We didn't do well. Rigobert Song, he's brought a little bit of stability to the Cameroon team. They play very, very organized football. Probably they will look back at this tournament and try to improve as they are going to play the Africa Cup in Cote d'Ivoire in next year, is it? 2023, yeah.
Well, shifting our focus to the only surviving team that has remained, and they are probably facing a very, very difficult encounter today against Portugal. The Moroccans, who are 15 k's away from Spain, and they managed to embarrass their neighbors. I call them their neighbors because they're only separated by a distance of about 14.6 kilometers. We saw Morocco putting smiles on our faces across the continent of Africa.
The Atlas Lions, I think they are a very, very good team. They play with a very big heart. They work very, very hard, especially off the ball. If you have to be successful in tournaments of this magnitude, you need to have people that are willing to work very hard without the ball. And Morocco have got that. There are a lot of question marks with Ziyech. He hasn't been doing very well for Chelsea. There were question marks surrounding him going into this World Cup, but he's done very, very well. He's been Morocco's best player. They have got players like Bono, the goalkeeper, very, very good. He's one of the most outstanding goalkeepers, not just in Africa, but in world football. He does very well for Sevilla, a side which is struggling, but Bono is always a constant performer for that side. They've got Roman Saiss, their captain. He's a leader, he's a shouter. You always organize that Morocco team. Under the experience of Amrabat in central midfield has shown at this tournament, because he's one player who is willing to get on the ball and take risks for Morocco, and without it he's going to work very, very hard. He covers a lot of ground, and up front probably that's where they have got a little bit of problems, because they do not have a lot of goals. Morocco, they need to try and work off Sofiane Boufal. He needs to come to the party and try and help Ziyech in this tournament to try and see that Morocco goes through to the semi-finals. El Nasri, he's a player who is a willing runner. He will run the channels, he will work the defenders, he works his socks off, but in front of goal, he doesn't do much for Morocco. If he can give those Portuguese players a little bit of pressure, he gives the centre-back something to think about. Maybe Ziyech might come in and score the goal, which will probably take Morocco to the semi-finals.
He will be a pain in the flesh of Pepe in the back line of the Portuguese team, and we can only wish the Moroccan national soccer team all the best as they take on Portugal. Let's look at the Portuguese national team. Ronaldo has been the centre of controversy on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo did that famous interview with Piers Morgan, which got the world talking. One thing that I've realized, Cristiano Ronaldo is very, very smart. He did that interview to try and take the focus
away from the game.
And you look at what Ronaldo has been doing, I think he's out of form. Because of that interview, he bought time. He bought time for people to try and let's try and see what you do at the World Cup. And now he's at the World Cup, and his form hasn't been very, very great. He tried to max his form up with that interview, and but he's a player who has got moments. He might be the difference for Portugal going through to the finals, because he's a player of big stages. He has always embraced the big stages. But if you look at Portugal's setup, they looked better against Swiss when he started from the bench. They were very, very good going forward. There was a lot of interchange up front, and the young boy Ramos introduced himself to the world. And you see the likes of Bruno Fernandes and João Felix playing with a little bit of freedom, because when Ronaldo is in the team, it's a different approach altogether. But they look very, very good, and they look like a very, very good side, this Portugal team.
Well, the Portuguese team there, and we will be watching that game a little later in the day today when Morocco take on Portugal. And I had a short conversation with one of my colleagues, one of the groups this morning, where I clearly stated, I said, if Ronaldo starts this afternoon's game, then Moroccans can smile, because whenever he plays, he brings confusion and the stability of those young lads. I think they lose focus when he starts a game, and we can only wish the Moroccans all the best. Let's look at England versus France this evening. Harry Maguire has been a centre of success. For the first time, I think I have a soft spot for him, and clearly he's had those nice deadly passes from the back straight into the wings, and he's been very, very accurate. And when you look at his personal performance against his personal record at Man United, I think he's developing very well.
Yeah, I think one thing about football is that there are players who embrace certain stages. There are players that are good for international football, and there are players that are good for club football. and there are those that manage to balance up the two. And Harry Maguire he's one player who's tailor-made for international football. I think he's had his best moments as a defender playing international football, wearing that England jersey representing the Three Lions. He's better suited when he's playing for them rather than playing a club football. And there were a lot of question marks again with him when Gareth Southgate was including him in his team. But you realize Harry Maguire is someone who is very much experienced. When he's playing for England, he rarely puts a foot wrong. He's a guy who wins a lot of balls in the box, in both boxes, and he has been very, very dominant at this particular World Cup. He's comfortable to come out with the ball in defense, but the biggest problem that Harry has is defending in 1v1 situations. That's where you find him wanting, and probably coming up against French all-time leading scorer in Olivier Giroud, you have his hands full together with John Stones, because
the faith that Didier Deschamps has in that player is yielding results.
Exactly, he's now the outright leading scorer all times for
he's
France.
beaten Thierry.
Yeah, and he's probably one of the most underrated player, Olivier Giroud, but he's a complete striker. He will play one-touch football. He's very, very good with link-up. And
do you recall that in the last game, I think the first 7 minutes, he only touched the ball once?
That's what he does. He's good at that, and there's that understanding between him and Griezmann, because Griezmann is going to be the guy that will drop in, link up play, and try and get Olivier Giroud or Kylian Mbappe into play. And one player who has probably been one of the unsung heroes from this French side is Ousmane Dembele. He's been brilliant on the right-hand side, and he's going to have a very, very interesting battle with Luke Shaw, who has been very, very decent for England as well. Luke Shaw, it's going to be interesting to see who wins that tussle. In central midfield, England will be outplayed. That's a given, because Aurelien Tchouameni, his levels above that England midfield of Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham. Jude has got potential, but the role that Gareth is playing him in a deeper role, he doesn't.
It's restricting.
Yes, exactly. And so you look at this England team. I expect England to sit back this evening to try and soak up pressure, and
they'll sit back on the right-hand side of the pitch
and try and hit France on the counter. Exactly. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Henderson playing close to Harry Maguire to try and protect Harry Maguire or to try and protect Luke Shaw, because of the threat Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele will be posing on both flanks. Kyle Walker is a favourite to start. I wouldn't be very much surprised to see an England go with a back three so that they protect their fragile defense.
Chances are that they will play back six today because of the threat that France poses.
They may have two fullbacks on one flank. Kyle Walker playing as Kyle Walker playing as an inside centre back to try and nullify the threat that Kylian Mbappe might offer them, and probably go with a more defensive-minded Kieran Trippier on the right-hand side. They'll try and do everything to try and stop Kylian Mbappe, but if England have to be brave, they've got a good side, they've got a decent players. They have to just play shackles off, go and attack France. You may never know. They may crack the French, but if they consistently worry about Kylian Mbappe, it's not Mbappe who will hate them. It's going to be probably Ousmane Dembele.
We saw that composure from Croatia yesterday, and I think talking about having self-belief, that's exactly what Croatia did yesterday against the Samba Boys of Brazil. They managed to hold on to protect their game in the entire 90 minutes. They went into extra time, quickly conceded. They fought back, scored that goal, and then they went into penalties. And penalties are a real gamble, and we saw that embarrassing exit by the Samba Boys. And we can only wish today, may the best team win between France and England. Well, for me, I don't think this game will even be... I don't think it will be able to go to extra time. Yeah, business should end in regulation time.
Yeah, it should be, and I think we don't love penalty shootouts. Don't do it. It's better we see a game ending in 90 minutes. But having said that, yesterday we saw Croatia beat the Samba Boys. Very, very organized performance. I think you look at Croatia's midfield three of Luka Modric, Brozovic, and Mateo Kovacic. I think they work very, very hard. They are probably one of the hard workers at this World Cup. They'll press teams when they need to. They won't trigger the press every time. They are very, very cautious in how they press. They play very, very low block. They are very, very organized. They try to hit teams on the counter. I think, to me, players like Kramari should come to the party, should offer them something going forward. And it was a very, very good performance against the Samba boys, who looked like favorites from day one. And Brazil, after they got the lead, probably tactically Tite got it wrong. He could have tried and twisted it a little bit. You do not need to attack at that point. You just need to try and see off the game. Neymar would have been substituted because he was struggling. When
Vinicius Jr. was taken off, I told the colleagues I was watching the game with, I said, I think the coach hasn't made the correct decision, because the man who was off with the performance in last night's game was actually Neymar. Neymar should have been taken off.
Yeah, I felt the same.
But Vinicius got off. We saw the experience of Neymar. He kept on, he was kept on the field and eventually managed to penetrate through that very tight defense and managed to squeeze in a goal.
Yeah, big players like Neymar would turn up. There will be moments like what he did. There was that magic. But after he did that job, he got that job. The last 15 minutes, the second half, the coach could have been very, very mindful with his tactics. I think let's try and withdraw Neymar and see off this game. Another tactical switch which I felt destroyed Brazil was the coming in of Alex Sandro for Eder Militao. I think I didn't understand that. Yes, Militao was struggling probably with cramp. They could have held on for Militao, because if you want to defend, who do you go for? Militao, Alexandro, or Danilo? Militao is a better defender from all the three. I think they could have found a way to bring in Alexandro and shift Danilo on the right hand side, so that they have a back three. They remain compact, because Croatia didn't have a target man in the box who was going to give them problems. They could have just been very, very well organized and see off the game, but they didn't do that. And alas, they are out by a team which probably people thought it was fluke in 2018. They've replicated that. 4 million people, less than 4 million people, they are in the semi-finals again.
Well, a big congratulations to the teams that have already qualified to the semi-finals.
And probably they have denied us an opportunity to see the giants of South America in the semi-final. Brazil versus Argentina. The atmosphere would have been electric.
Very electric. That game would have been it would have been a replicate of the Copa America that they normally participate in, and it's always interesting when those two countries meet at that level. But for now, let's quickly shift our focus to the under-17 lads who are plying their trade at the COSAFA tournament in Malawi. They are through to the finals after beating Botswana by 4 goals to 2, and they have qualified to the AFCON under-17 next year. And now tomorrow they will be facing our very own usual COSAFA finalists at all levels of football, including the girls.
Yes.
It's Zambia versus South Africa tomorrow.
Yeah, our nemesis in the southern region, South Africa, and we're going up against them again tomorrow. You would have, I think, congratulations to Ian Bakala and the boys. They've done brilliantly to reach this stage. And Makinka, yeah. So I think what we need to do now as a country, we've lost it in terms of the senior national soccer team. I think we are in 6s and 7s. Now we need to try and get it right with this group of players. We need to try and see how we blend them and introduce them to the big stages. I think the biggest problem that we've had as a country is monitoring these young players after the league camp. Yes, that's the biggest problem. If we can try and monitor these players very well and try and oversee their development closely, that would be very, very key. I think the under-20 qualified to the Africa Cup of Nations. Now the under-17 have qualified. The under-23 are on the blink. So you can see that the youth teams are doing better. The problem is to try and step up to the challenge at senior level. We need to psych our players. We need to develop players that will be tailor-made for big tournaments, like competing, not just participating, competing at Africa Cup of Nations, competing at the FIFA World Cup. This is what we need to try and do in terms of grassroots football, in terms of grooming the next big stars of Zambian football.
All right, so let's quickly look at our fixtures for this weekend in the Zambian, in the National Division 1 league that will be taking place this particular weekend. We have the following games that will be taking place. Jumulo FC will be taking on Trident. Atletico Lusaka will be facing Kafue Eagles. Konkola Blades will be hosting Mighty Mufulira Wanderers, who have already made it to the Absa Cup. And only one more slot is being awaited in that particular league. We have Young Green Buffaloes hosting Mutondo Stars, Kitwe United hosting Livingstone Pirates, City of Lusaka Football Club hosting Kafue Celtic, Indeni versus Zesco Malite Rangers, Mpulungu Haba versus Aguila Stars, and finally Lusaka Dynamos will be hosting Bats FC. Any interesting fixtures in the National Division 1? Away from Mighty Mufulira Wanderers.
Avena Milambo.
Milambo having qualified to the Absa Cup.
I think Mutondo visiting Young Green Buffaloes, that's an interesting encounter. Mutondo, their last 2 visits in the capital, they beat Atletico Lusaka, and recently they beat Lusaka Dynamos. They'll fancy their chances against a Young Buffalo side which has got experienced players in that team, and going
apparently whoever retires at GBFC goes to
Young Buffalo. So they decided with these charges, they will look at this game and try and get all 3 points so that they may finish the first round very, very strongly. And Mutondo have been very, very impressive. And another encounter probably Zesco Malite versus Indeni. Big encounter for Zesco Malite. They've been struggling this season, and they're coming up against Indeni, who look like a team which wants to bounce back, but they're very inconsistent with their performances in games and in between games. They need to try and rectify that if they want to get promoted.
Well, switching to the Super League because of time, let's look at the first game of today, which is FC Muza. We'll be hosting none other than Lomwana Radiance this afternoon. FC Muza has been very, very consistent, Augustine, if you ask me, and they only recorded their first loss of this of their last 6-7 games. They lost to Zanaco Football Club last weekend by 3-2, which was a very, very good fight from them when you look at where they are coming from in the Division 1 league and coming to face giants of Africa. Zanaco Football Club, who has been performing at CAF level for quite a couple of years now, and to be beaten by 3-2, probably it was just a good wake-up call for the young lads who have been on a winning streak. Big embarrassing, big teams along the way.
Yeah, and they have been very, very brilliant in the last 10 games. If you have to stretch it that far, they faced Nkana, Red Arrows, Zesco United, Power Dynamos, Zanaco, and they have gotten points of these teams. I think Zanaco is one of them to have 103 points. They inflicted the first defeat to Forest Rangers just a couple of weeks ago. They're a very youthful side and they play adventurous football. They're fearless, they're fun to watch. Andrew Pili, he's very, very good striker. He's one for the future for Chipolo Polo. And
I don't see that lad staying at Muza in the current season.
But the teams will have to break the bank to try and get him from Muza. He's been very good. I think alongside the captain, Kelvin Mutale, he's a very, very good boy. I've been impressed with one of their defenders in Chideshe. He's very, very outstanding, very, very strong. They play good football, Muza, and they are setting their sights on the Absa Cup. A victory today and results going their way elsewhere, they will be playing the Absa Cup.
Alex Namazawa's first game in charge as a complete manager of Green Eagles Football Club is at home hosting Kwazi Football Club, the team that is also trying to make things happen under their new manager in TC. Yeah,
they've gotten a couple of good results. I think most notably their 3-0 victory over Chambishi Kwazi Football Club. Justin Shonga back on the scoring sheet, and coming up against Alex Namazawa, Green Eagles, who are just fresh from beating the champions Red Arrows. We hope to see an entertaining game, because most times, like we were talking off air, when these coaches are now officially given this job, they start playing negative football. That's what we don't want to see. That Alex Namazawa, ever since he took over from Agre Chiange at Green Eagles, they have been playing some good expansive football. They're playing a little bit open. They are willing to attack teams. They are overloading teams in attacking areas. We haven't seen that for a long time with this Green Eagle side, but they are playing good tempo, good attacking football. We do not want to see them change, because now the coach has gotten the job permanently now, for him to start being pragmatic, for him to start being negative and start playing a defensive game and trying to catch him on the counter. Amit Shamende is going to play a very key role. He inflicted pain to Red Arrows just last week. Ernest Mbewe, another player who has been in good form under Alex Manamazawa, they will try and see if they can get 3 points against the Nkwazi side.
Winless Kabwe Warriors Football Club. They have lost one chicken, George Rwandamina, who has come from Kabwe all the way to Ndola, back at Zesco United. Kabwe Warriors Football Club will this afternoon be hosting Changa Rangers Football Club. They've become draw specialists in their last, I think they've drawn their last 4 games. They are winless in 13, by the way, in the Zambian Super League.
They have only won 1 in 16, and that was against Red Arrows. It was a rescheduled game, because Red Arrows were eyeing a continental game against.
You just had to give your reason, Augustine.
No. I'm trying to.
But you're very unfortunate. Red Arrows is the only team that has lost to Kabwe Warriors.
Yeah, I'm trying to give
a history to
yes to how Kabwe Warriors find themselves where they are. It was a rescheduled encounter. Red Arrows were preparing for a game against Premier de Augusto in Angola. They won it by 1-0. It was a performance which wasn't the best by Kabwe Warriors, because Red Arrows had a lot of chances which they wasted. And you could see there was a lot of hype when George Rwandamina took over the side, but I was doubtful of this Kabwe Warriors team, because they do not have the quality. The players that they have kept bringing in the football club are not very, very convincing. If you remember, in 2017, in the Transition League, they were very, very close to winning the league title, Kabwe Warriors. Then they lost their talisman, who was the defender who moved to TP Mazembe.
From which
from
season?
Kabwe Warriors.
When we had a break in the leagues.
The centre back who plays at the national team.
What's his name? This guy.
Tandy Mwape, yeah. When they lost Tandy Mwape, they never
they managed to hold on to Dominic.
They never replaced Tandy Mwape.
They managed to hold on to Dominic.
They brought in Dominic Chanda after they lost Tandy Mwape.
The man that
and he was young. And he was very, very young, Dominic Chanda. The money they got from TP Mazembe, they really didn't reinvest in the squad. We never saw big signings for Kabwe to try and attack the league again. Fast forward to a couple of seasons ago, Ian Bakala qualified Kabwe to the CAF Confederations Cup, which was eliminated in the first round by a team from is it Mozambique, a lower league team. So I think the biggest problem at Kabwe has been recruitment, and it has shown this season, because there are a lot of tired legs in that Kabwe side, and probably they may just get a victory against this Changa Rangers side, because they are inconsistent with their performances.
Why is this very, very consistent with clubs that manage the technical benches? Why do they allow an appointment of a head coach? A head coach is appointed, and then you don't allow the head coach to appoint his own technical staff. This is the major reason and the major problem that happened at Kabwe Warriors. He found the same backroom staff. He couldn't be allowed to bring in any new players, any new technical staff. And in every organization, when there's change at the helm, change must happen everywhere. And that change never took place at Kabwe Warriors, except they still wanted the change in results.
I think that's the problem with Zambian football. We've seen the trend. The head coach comes in and he inherits the entire backroom staff from the previous manager. And when he tries to change
there
things...
There are clubs where you see an assistant coach has been there for the last 15 years.
Exactly.
You have seen 20 coaches coming and going.
Every time when there's something new, probably new advice, let's change our style of play, they say, we don't do that
here. We don't do that here.
That's the biggest problem which we have in Zambian football. The administrators need to change the way they run these football clubs. They need to try and run football in a modern way. When a coach is appointed, let him come with his entire backroom staff. When they fail as their team. Yeah,
true. That should be happening. And now, very quickly, let's look at Nkana Football Club. Last weekend, they put smiles on people's faces around Usakile when they beat Zesco United by a long goal to 0. Courtesy of Harrison Chisara's goal from the spot kick. And now, today, Nkana is away to Kansanshi Dynamos.
Big result over the weekend against a struggling Zesco United, we must add. And I think...
A congratulatory message can't just come from you, Augustine, about Nkana Football Club.
Adding salt to the wound, Power Dynamos won it late in Kabwe. and all the Nkana fans were thinking these guys are dropping points.
The noisemakers.
Yes, they are dropping points, and Joshua Mutale got a late winner for Power Dynamos. But congratulations to Nkana Football Club. It was a very big victory. It's never easy beating Zesco United, regardless of the form. Zesco United are still a big side, and it's very, very good that they got that victory. And this afternoon, they are away against Kansanshi Dynamos. It's the first time that Nkana are coming up with Ronald Sate Kampamba. It will be an interesting encounter.
He's going to be back facing his usual old club, childhood club, Nkana Football Club. I'm hoping that he is in the team and he's going to make the squad to face his old club. Let's quickly look at Napsa Stars, Augustine. Very, very inconsistent Napsa Stars. They have not won a game in their last 5 games. And now they host title pretenders who at some point provided a very big threat to the other teams in Prison Helpers Football Club. This match will be at Hero Stadium this afternoon.
Interesting encounter, and if you remember, Napsa Stars, they were closer to the top just a couple of weeks ago because they are on a very, very good run. They beat Zesco United. They went to Kansanshi and got a goalless draw. Then they beat Kawa Warriors and then when they drew against Buildicon, that's when disaster struck. I think
everybody was beating Buildicon.
Everyone was beating Buildicon, and they lost to GBFC. They lost to they drew against Njanga Rangers. They lost to Chambishi as well. Chambishi, they have had it hard, Napsa Stars, and you cannot know what to expect from Napsa Stars this afternoon, coming up against a Prison Leopards side who have got players who are enjoying fine form like Luvinda Mundia. He's been brilliant for Prisons. I think Lundu Miete, he's been one of the best attacking midfielders in this league this season. He's been very, very good. He's the guy who influences Prison Leopards, especially in possession. He's the one who manipulates the ball and try and create chances for them against an Napsa Stars side who are lacking in confidence. But in these games, I feel Perry Mutapa may just get it right. He will get them the victory, which will see Napsa Stars push a little bit high up the table. And unfortunately for Napsa Stars, they won't be able to defend the Absa Cup because they missed out.
Unfortunately, the reality has to be faced, and this is one of the realities that Napsa Stars is going to face by not participating in the Absa Cup because they are not going to make the top 6. In Kitwe, the biggest game of the weekend for me, if you ask me, countrywide. Of course, there is another one, which is Zanaco versus GBFC at Sunset Stadium. But this particular one is Power Dynamos hosting Red Arrows. And I know Augustine will be very objective in this game. Power Dynamos has been on the rise and their confidence levels are extremely high. When you look at how they've been performing and grinding results under Mwenya Chipepo, I think they've done extremely well this season compared to last season. Yeah,
I think every time when the fixtures come out, this game is one of those games that stand out. It's good for Advert because it's probably two of the most best passing teams in the Zambia League going head to head, and Red Arrows are on a free fall. They are on a poor run and facing a Power Dynamos who are very, very confident. They are playing good football under Mwenya Chipepo. It's the log leaders hosting the champions. Is going to be very, very interesting in Kitwe. What we've seen from Power Dynamos under Mwenya Chipepo is that they're playing a little bit direct now. They are no longer trying to outpass every team, but they're playing a very, very direct game. And on the other side, if you look at Red Arrows, they've lost their touch. They are not controlling games like they used to. They do not have a goal scorer up front who is consistently scoring goals for Red Arrows.
Still depending on one old Chamanga.
Yeah, and he's been very, very impressive.
Yeah, true.
From if you look at the young three strikers, Konrad Luchanga has been in and out because of injury. Ricky Banda is out of form. Joseph Piri is inconsistent with his performances.
Nobody's really creating a threat.
Exactly.
James Chamanga on the bench.
If things are not happening for James Chamanga, Red Arrows is not ticking. And the biggest blow I felt for Red Arrows this season has been the injury to Fred Sutra Shimenga. Shimenga brings something different. It brings a different dimension. He creates chances for Red Arrows. He's got that experience. And coming up against Power Dynamos, I think probably Power Dynamos' best signing this season was Owen Tembo in central midfield. He's made Linus Makwaza look like a very, very top midfielder. So this game,
that's one player that has never convinced me.
It might end in a draw, but I feel Powderham was slightly favourite to win it.
Augustine, thank you very much for being objective.
I'm always objective.
And not all the time, anyway. But we are grateful. One of the fixtures that will be taking place again is Zanaco Football Club is hosting GBFC. GBFC under Juan Masauso Tembo has been a revolution that everybody else has seen, and the mark of change has happened at GBFC.
GBFC, wow. GBFC are a team in the first round, they always flatter to deceive. We wait and see what they will do in the second round. But
that happened,
having said that, they look very, very good. I think your favorite player, is it Arthur Mulea, centre back? He's very, very good. He's very confident. He comes out with the ball because Masa also is a coach who wants to build from the back, and they build between the phases very, very well. Jack Chilwa has looked very, very different this season. He's very, very consistent with his performances. Gordon Mashata had a terrible injury against Sky Warriors, back in the treatment table, but he has resumed training. He has been the talisman for this GBFC. He's been carrying the team on his shoulders
as young as
he is. And we always say this season will be very, very big for him because the departure of Friday Sam, they always depended on Friday Sam to get them the goals. Now he's stepped up and he's been very, very good. Zanaco, we might see a very, very different Zanaco next season under Amunike, because I think since the time Amunike came in, there's been a little bit of stability.
Technical director. We have a coach in Kelvin Kaindo.
Weeks from now, Amunike will be appointed fully as head coach of Sensational Zanaco. We watch the space.
All right. Last but not the least, George Wandamina's first game in charge will be probably last weekend. He was watching from the terraces when they lost to Mighty Nkana Football Club. And, this afternoon, we have Zesco United playing a local derby against Forest Rangers. Forest Rangers has been very, 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 very impressive, if you ask me, and very, very consistent. And this derby is very, very electrifying. And I'm only hoping that these Zesco guys will be shut down. They'll be load-shaded by the Forest guys.
Yeah, I think Forest Rangers are going into this encounter without their head coach Ian Bagala, who is on international duty. But having said that, there's still that organization, there's still that program that's in place for this Forest Rangers side. They are always a thorn in the flesh for Zesco United in these Ndola derbies. They always cause an upset after one or two games, and probably Luambo Moyela is one of the most informed strikers in the league. He's been good getting the goals, the young lad. Probably he loves playing against Clifford Mulenga, who never ages. Clifford Mulenga, very, very intelligent player.
Like James
he knows how to pick pockets of those little pockets and makes things happen for Forest Rangers. Clifford Mulenga is a very, very key player for this Forest Rangers side, and Toshi Chinga, he's been one player who has been very, very outstanding this season. He's been breaking up play. He's been very, very dominant in central midfield. Bilim Tale, he looks different, very, very solid at the back. Zesco United will need to be on their A game if they're going to try and raise up. Luanda Mina tends to get the best out of certain players, and I believe one player who thrive under George Luandamina will be Colin Sikombe. Ever since he moved to Zesco United, he hasn't been the same again, but I believe with the coming in of George Luandamina, he will get the best out of the influential midfielder, and he might just be the difference to take Zesco United to the next level.
Last but not the least, Buildcon Football Club will be hosting Chambishi Football Club tomorrow at 15 hours.
We expect goals. We expect goals. We expect goals in this one. I think Chambishi have been giant killers. They've beat Napsa Stars, they've beat Zesco United, they've beat Green Eagles. So you can see that they are giant killers. And in games like this, when they're playing Buildcon, probably they will lose it. Yeah, that's where probably Chambishi are finding it difficult to try and break down teams like Buildcon, who are very organized, but they do not have a lot of goals in them, and they tend to lose games because they are conceding. And Buildcon, I think this will be their first victory of the season, beating Chambishi by 2-1.
Well, all said and done, all roads lead to different stages across Zambia where these Super League games will be taking place. And I think lastly but not the least, we wish our young lads Your closing remarks on the Young Lads final tomorrow against South Africa?
Yeah, I think I would love to wish all the teams that are participating in Malawi, the women's team and the men's team, all the very best as they try and bring glory to Mother Zambia. And a big thanks to the entire production team for making this possible. We always appreciate you, the viewers, for the support and the effort that you put in this show. We would like to urge each and every one of you to trek to the stadium to watch Bola Yapazedi because it's the best.
Indeed, it's the best, and that's what keeps us going. And all of you find your way and go and support those local teams that are playing their games at their home grounds this afternoon. And those that can afford to go and watch away games, like I will fly to Kansanshi to watch Nkana Football Club. I wish I could do that, to go and watch my Nkana Football Club. But from me, Rapson and Augustine, I think it's been a very, very fantastic time that we've had. And we can only wish all of you, our viewers, a very, very nice weekend, very, very nice and sporting weekend. Remember to applaud the lads and cheer the lads as they take on South Africa tomorrow in the Under-17 COSAFA Cup finals in Malawi. And from us here, it's goodbye and see you next weekend. God bless you all.